So I think I'm in love. It's not with a human girl or a robot girl or even a 2D girl. It's with the library. Yeah, I think I want to marry the public library. It's so good to me. Now, libraries aren't all that beloved by most people, you know. Authors will write about them from time to time and, you know, you'll hear about them on a show or something. As Arthur said, you can always have fun when you have a library card, I think, or something like that. I don't know, I never watched Arthur. But my favorite thing about libraries is not the fact that they have books, which are cool, you know, it's not even the fact they have movies, it's the fact they have comic books. They have comic books and they have manga and they have so much weird stuff. They have so many things that I've never even heard of before. For instance, I had never heard of Chibi Vampire until I went to the library, and then I read it, and it was bad. It was not good. Maybe it gets better after the first volume, I don't know. There's a wealth of knowledge and resources at the library. If I'm not mistaken, free public libraries were invented by Benjamin Franklin, who, as you know, is on the $100 bill, and also, as you may not know, he did wind baths or air baths or something like that, where he just stood outside naked on his front yard. It's cool whenever a founding father does it, but whenever I try to do it, I'm a registered sex offender. So the library has comics and manga there, but that's not the real reason I love it. The real reason I love it is the fact that you can ask them to buy stuff. Most libraries have a spot where you can suggest items to them and ask them to buy them for you if you really want them. And so I've requested some pretty weird stuff. And you know what? The library has bought most of it. Not all of it, but you know, most of it's pretty good. I'm so grateful that they have the suggest an item function at my library because I've abused the crap out of it. I've made them buy so much weird stuff. It's not even funny. I made them buy Dementia 21, which is a really great manga. Actually, it's really funny. It's really weird. I remember at one point Santa gives kids like weapons or something like that. I don't actually remember it all that clearly, but it's a weird one. It's really good. I should reread it. I made them buy the entirety of Berserk for me, and if you've read Berserk, then you know how gory and messed up that series is, and it's shocking that taxpayer money is being used for that, but I love it. There are a lot of classic DC comics that I made the library buy, you know, and I fell in love with as a result of the library buying them. For instance, Hellblazer. I love Hellblazer. I love the Sandman, Swamp Thing, Doom Patrol, all the Vertigo books I absolutely adore. In fact, I should probably make a video on Vertigo at some point. I made them buy Battle Angel Alita, which is great. I've made them buy all of Doro Hidoro, which is one of my favorite manga. They have almost all the American Junji Ito books as a result of my asking. Yeah, that's right, they have a crap ton of Batman comics because I wanted them. I made them buy Image books like Deadly Class and the Black Monday Murders, both of which I love. Unfortunately, Black Monday Murders hasn't been finished, which is a shame. And I made them buy a whole bunch of other crap too. When I say that I made the library buy books, I don't actually mean that I made them buy them. I just asked and they bought them, and it was super cool. Now, should taxpayer money go to buying comic books? That's up to you to decide. But did it? Yes, it did. Now, the point of this video isn't to talk about all the crap I've made the library buy for me. You know, I could do a billion videos about that. Really, it's just I wanted to talk about how much I love the library and appreciate them for doing this. And not only for doing this, but for just being an all-around good facility. There's so much knowledge that can be gained from libraries, and there are so many just different weird books that you can find. It's like going to a bookstore and just browsing, except you don't actually have to pay for any of it. I mean, you do pay for it in the form of taxes, but you know, I think we can all agree that libraries are one of the only things that the government does right. I think that we can all agree that even if you don't use the library regularly, it's good to have a library in your neighborhood. It's good to know that if you so choose, the option is there for you to go and, you know, better yourself maybe. You know, you can do some good old-fashioned book learning, or you can read comics, right? Now, that's not to say the library is perfect. You know, it is a collection of books that are being publicly traded around, and so you will find some weird things. I have gotten books before that, you know, have dog bites in them. I remember there was a Nightwing comic book that I got one time that I couldn't read some of the speech bubbles from because a dog had literally bitten off a piece of it. So that's kind of lame. But really, that doesn't diminish how I view the library. You know, no, the library's not perfect, but it's absolutely phenomenal. The fact of the matter is that the option is there for me to go and to read as much as I want, or to watch as much as I want, or, you know, whatever, to go and play around, and I don't have to spend my money on it. I don't have to be scared that a comic book I buy is going to be bad because the library has already bought it and has already paid the artist. That's one of my favorite things about the library, is the fact that you can read stuff for free, but know that the artist or the author are getting paid for their work. I feel like people maybe don't use the library if they just pirate or torrent their stuff, and, you know, that's whatever. But I think that really, if you can, using your library to read the stuff you want is a better option. Again, the cost thing is just, it cannot be overstated how great it is that you don't have to pay for the library. So what else does the library have to offer aside from, you know, weird comic book? A lot of things, I guess. And by a lot of things, I mean a few things. At the library, you have the chance to study or work in silence, or, you know, relative silence, because there's always going to be some kid there talking, trying to get, you know, weird books that their mom doesn't like. And it is what it is, I suppose, but You know, it's nice that there's a place in the community where you can just go and hang out. Some libraries in my cities have Xboxes. I've never actually played on them because I play on PC, but that's cool, I guess. I think maybe it's worth bringing up the idea that, you know, what is a library, right? What is a library supposed to be? Should it be a place where there are only books allowed, or should you allow other forms of content such as movies or TV shows, or like I have talked about, comic books and manga? Everyone's going to have their own opinion on it. Quite frankly, I don't think most people care, and that's kind of sad to me because, again, the library has meant a lot to me. I didn't start going to the public library until I was 16, and I found out they actually had comic books there from a friend of mine, and I have not stopped going there since then. And seeing as how I'm 57 now, it's been 41 years, which, you know, it's a long relationship, I guess. It's a long courting period, which is why I'm now asking the library to marry me. Library, I love you, and I love everything you stand for. Will you be forever mine? Library, I'm getting down on one knee, and just know that I love you, and I will always love you. That was kind of weird. I think it would help if I shared a little bit about my situation. So I one day hope to write comics for a living, and so having access to the library as a comic book shop essentially has been invaluable to me. Thanks to the library, I've had the option to read all kinds of stuff. I've been able to read weird stuff, I've been able to read popular stuff, I've been able to read stuff that you've never heard of, and I haven't enjoyed everything I've read, but I'm glad that I've read it. And so even though I've been talking about how much I love reading comics, since I want to be a comic book writer, it's a form of research, or at least that's what I tell myself. Because the fact of the matter is that whether or not I make it as a writer, I've enjoyed the time that I've spent at the library, and so I feel the need to make this video and to just tell people, hey, check out your libraries, you know, suggest items to them. See what they'll buy for you, see what your taxpayer money will get you. There are so many great books I've read from the library. You know, On Writing by Stephen King is one of my favorite writing books. Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy, it's great. The library is how I read books like Scott Pilgrim and East of West, which I love. At the end of the day, I don't really believe that anyone changes their mind because of any objective facts. No one changes their mind because they saw statistics or because they read a nice article about it, or, you know, something like that. People change their mind because of stories and articles that include stories. And so I figured that I would share, you know, my story, if you can call it that, the story of how I came to love the library. There's a lot of bad things in the world, and I am by no means an optimistic person. I'm quite the opposite, actually. But with that being said, I do try to focus on the good from time to time, and the library is an example of the good. So in conclusion, I love my library, and I would marry my library if it were a person, but unfortunately it is not a person. It is a brick building that is approximately 2,500 square feet wide, and it's a shame, really. I wish that it was a person, and we could have strange library person hybrid children. They would be abominations. They would be disgusting, really. Barely even human, you know, not even fully library either. You know, they would be my children in the libraries, and so I think that's really something to think about. So that's the note I'll end on. Good night. You know, one time I bought a book off eBay and it smelled like wood. I don't know why it smells like wood, and it stinks anytime I try to read it.